Before there were governments, before laws were written down, before money existed, human societies were already being controlled. Not by force, not by weapons, and not by technology. Entire communities followed rules they had never seen written. People obeyed systems no one officially enforced. Decisions were made, resources were distributed, conflicts were resolved, and power was maintained, all without kings, courts, or machines. And it worked. Modern societies rely on visible structures to function: police, paperwork, algorithms, surveillance, schedules. But early human communities operated with none of that. There were no formal leaders issuing commands every day, no centralized authority tracking behavior, no databases storing information. Yet somehow, people knew what they were allowed to do. They knew what would happen if they crossed certain lines, and they adjusted their behavior accordingly. This raises an uncomfortable question. If power does not require technology, and control does not require force, then what actually holds societies together? Because whatever that mechanism was, it worked for tens of thousands of years. Power in early human societies did not look like domination. It looked like normal life. People didn't feel controlled, they felt aligned. Behavior followed expectations so deeply embedded that questioning them rarely even occurred. No one needed to tell you when to hunt. No one needed to tell you where to gather. No one needed to explain which actions would bring consequences. You already knew, and everyone else did too. This kind of power is difficult for modern minds to recognize because it leaves no obvious trace. There are no written orders to study, no official hierarchies carved into stone, no clear moment where control is imposed. Instead, it operates quietly, through habits, through shared beliefs, through fear of exclusion rather than fear of punishment. Long before humans built machines to control systems, they built systems to control humans. And those systems were so effective that most people never noticed them at all. To understand how early human societies functioned, we first need to let go of a dangerous assumption that power must always be visible, because the most effective forms of control rarely are. In modern societies, control is obvious. Rules are written, orders are spoken, systems are enforced. But in early human communities, control worked differently. There were no daily instructions telling people how to behave, no official punishments written into law, and no permanent authority watching over everyone's actions. Yet behavior remained remarkably consistent across generations. This consistency did not come from obedience, it came from internalization. From an early age, individuals absorbed expectations simply by living inside the group. What you were allowed to do was demonstrated, not explained. What you were forbidden to do was rarely stated outright, it was felt. Certain actions produced approval, others produced silence, and some led to something far worse than punishment: exclusion. In small, survival-based societies, exclusion was a death sentence. Being separated from the group meant exposure, hunger, and vulnerability. This made social belonging more powerful than any threat of violence. Rules did not need to be enforced loudly. They enforced themselves. People adjusted behavior instinctively to avoid disrupting group harmony. Over time, these adjustments became habits. Habits became traditions, and traditions became invisible laws. What makes this system remarkable is its efficiency. There was no need for constant supervision, no need for formal trials, no need for written codes. Everyone already knew the boundaries, not because they were taught explicitly, but because they were lived daily. This created a form of distributed control. Power was not concentrated in one individual. It existed everywhere and nowhere at the same time. Each member of the group reinforced the system simply by participating in it. Even leadership, when it existed, was temporary and situational. A skilled hunter led during hunts. A knowledgeable elder guided seasonal decisions. A respected storyteller preserved memory. Authority shifted based on context, not status. This flexibility made early societies resilient. When one individual failed, the system continued. When conditions changed, norms adapted. Control was not rigid, it was organic. And because it was organic, it felt natural. People didn't experience rules as restrictions, they experienced them as reality. This is what makes early human social systems so difficult to analyze today. Control was not imposed from above, it emerged from shared dependence. Survival required cooperation, cooperation required predictability, predictability required control. But not the kind we're used to. This was control without commands, power without rulers, order without enforcement. And it worked. But there was a limit. Because as groups grew larger and interactions became more complex, something began to strain. Control based purely on shared memory and expectation could only go so far. And that strain would force humans to invent something entirely new. For early human societies, memory was not personal, it was structural. Everything that kept the group alive depended on remembering correctly. When to move, where to go, what not to touch, which mistake had already been paid for with someone's life. But memory is fragile. People age, people forget, people die. And as groups grew larger, the cost of forgetting increased. A single lost route could mean starvation. A missed seasonal signal could destroy an entire food supply. A misunderstood warning could expose a group to danger they had avoided for generations. So humans did something radical. They turned memory into infrastructure. Knowledge stopped living only inside individual minds and began living inside shared forms, stories, rituals, repetition, patterned behavior. This was not memory for entertainment, it was compression. A single narrative could encode geography, behavior, ethics, and survival rules at once. A myth about a forbidden valley wasn't symbolic, it was a map, a warning, a boundary, a memory device. Rituals served the same function. Repeated actions performed at specific times of year preserved timing information without numbers. Movement patterns preserved migration routes without maps. Songs preserved sequences without written steps. You didn't need to remember facts, you needed to remember the pattern. Children learned by immersion, not instruction. They watched the same movements, heard the same stories, followed the same rhythms. Over time, the system embedded itself so deeply that knowledge felt instinctive. This made memory resilient. If one person failed, others still knew the pattern. If details changed, the story adapted. Memory systems evolved with the environment rather than freezing in place. But there was a trade-off. The more information these systems carried, the heavier they became. Stories grew longer, rituals became more complex, roles became more specialized. At a certain point, no single person could hold everything. This was the breaking point. Human societies had built systems powerful enough to support large populations, but those systems were still limited by biology, by attention, by lifespan. Memory had reached its limits. And when a system reaches its limits, it doesn't stop, it transforms. The pressure to preserve knowledge more reliably would push humans towards something unprecedented. Memory would leave the body, and once that happened, everything accelerated. Once memory reached its limits, humans faced a quiet but dangerous problem. Too much depended on remembering correctly. Routes, seasons, rules, agreements, quantities. At small scales, shared memory worked. At larger scales, it became fragile. A single failure could unravel systems that took generations to build. So humans did something no other species had ever done. They moved knowledge outside the human body. The earliest forms were simple, almost invisible to us today. Lines carved into bone, repeated marks on stone, knots tied into cords, arrangements of objects placed deliberately in space. These were not decoration, they were anchors. A mark could represent a day. A sequence of marks could track a cycle. An object placed in a specific location could signal a rule or boundary. These systems didn't replace memory, they extended it. Instead of remembering everything, people remembered how to read the markers. Knowledge became distributed between minds and materials. This changed how humans thought. Information no longer vanished when someone died. It could persist, it could be checked, it could be corrected, it could be taught with greater precision. Planning expanded. Decisions could now reference the past instead of relying entirely on instinct or oral tradition. Groups could compare outcomes, notice patterns, and adjust behavior across generations. This was not innovation driven by curiosity, it was survival pressure. As societies grew more interconnected, the cost of error increased. Memory alone could no longer support the complexity humans were creating. External memory solved that problem, but it introduced a new one. Once information existed outside the body, it stopped resetting with every generation. That single change altered the direction of human history. Before external memory, each generation had to relearn much of what came before. Skills improved slowly, mistakes were repeated, progress depended on how accurately stories survived. After external memory, knowledge could accumulate. A hunting strategy no longer died with the hunter. A tool design could outlive its maker. A hard-earned lesson didn't need to be relearned through failure. Small improvements began stacking on top of each other. A better tool increased food reliability. Reliable food supported larger groups. Larger groups required better coordination. Better coordination demanded clearer rules. Each solution created new complexity, and each new layer of complexity required better systems to manage it. This created a feedback loop. The more knowledge a group could preserve, the faster it could adapt. The faster it adapted, the more knowledge it generated. At this point, intelligence was no longer just an individual trait. It became collective. Different people began specializing. Some focused on physical labor, others on tools, others on planning, teaching, or maintaining traditions. No single person understood the entire system, but the system worked because knowledge was shared and reinforced across the group. This division of cognitive labor made societies stronger and more fragile. If shared knowledge broke down, everything collapsed. Routes were forgotten, rules were violated, coordination failed. So humans responded by reinforcing systems. Symbols became standardized, markers became rules, rules became expectations. Over time, groups that managed information better outperformed those that didn't. They coordinated faster, recovered from mistakes more efficiently, and survived environmental shocks with less loss. Power began to shift, not towards strength, but towards understanding. Those who could interpret systems, remember patterns, and manage shared knowledge gained influence. Leadership emerged not from dominance, but from reliability. Human societies were no longer just reacting to the environment, they were shaping it.
Land was modified, animal behavior was anticipated, resources were managed instead of hunted blindly. But this success came at a cost. As systems grew more complex, humans became dependent on them. Survival no longer relied only on physical skill. It relied on information staying intact. And once survival depends on information, the next step is inevitable. You build tools that handle information better than humans can.
For most of human history, tools amplified physical ability. A spear extended the arm, a blade sharpened the hand, a shelter extended the skin. But at a certain point, tools began extending something far more powerful: memory, calculation, planning. The earliest signs were subtle: counting marks carved into bone, notches cut into wood to track days or resources, stones arranged to represent quantities, seasons, or events. These tools didn't make humans stronger, they made humans more precise. Once numbers could exist outside the mind, memory stopped being a bottleneck. People no longer had to rely on recall alone. Information could be checked, compared, and reused. This was the birth of external thinking. Calendars followed naturally. Time itself became predictable rather than reactive. Instead of responding to seasonal changes as they arrived, humans could prepare for them in advance. Agriculture became possible because future conditions could be anticipated, not guessed. Writing accelerated everything. Ideas no longer needed their creators to travel. Instructions could move across generations. Knowledge could spread across vast distances without distortion. This shifted the structure of society. Power no longer belonged only to those with strength or speed. It moved toward those who could record, interpret, and manage information. Those who controlled knowledge controlled coordination. Civilizations emerged not because humans suddenly became smarter, but because they became better at storing and processing information. As systems grew larger, thinking tools grew more complex. Measurement systems reduced uncertainty. Maps expanded navigation beyond memory. Accounting tracked resources at scale. Each tool reduced mental load and increased reach. Cities formed, trade networks expanded, empires coordinated millions of people who would never meet. But humans were still doing the thinking. The tools assisted, but they did not decide. That changed later. Mechanical calculation removed human error. Machines could compute faster and more reliably than any person. Automation followed. Tasks once requiring judgment were converted into rules. Rules were encoded. Decisions followed logic instead of instinct. With modern computing, tools crossed a threshold. They stopped being passive. They began processing information independently, calculating, predicting, optimizing. For the first time in history, humans were no longer the fastest thinkers in the systems they had created. And once that line was crossed, there was no going back. Everything before this point was preparation. Before machines, knowledge moved at human speed. Mistakes spread slowly. Systems failed locally, not globally. After machines, information began moving faster than biology. Decisions could be made in milliseconds. Patterns could be detected across millions of data points. Systems could operate continuously without fatigue, emotion, or rest. This did not make humans obsolete. It changed our role. Instead of performing every task, humans became system designers. Instead of memorizing knowledge, humans became managers of knowledge. Instead of reacting to the world, humans began shaping it through abstract control. But this shift came with a trade-off. The more machines handled thinking, the less humans practiced certain kinds of thinking themselves. Navigation was replaced by GPS, memory was replaced by databases, calculation was replaced by automation. Just as Ice Age shelters once protected humans from lethal cold, modern systems now protect humans from complexity. The difference is scale. When a prehistoric shelter failed, a family was at risk. When a modern system fails, entire societies feel the impact. Supply chains collapse, financial systems freeze, communication networks go silent. The danger is no longer physical exposure, it is systemic fragility. As systems grow more complex, fewer people understand how they actually work. Interfaces become simple, while the machinery underneath becomes invisible. Dependence increases as understanding decreases. This creates a dangerous imbalance. Early humans survived because they respected limits. They understood cold. They understood hunger. They understood risk. Modern humans often experience comfort without comprehension, and systems that are not understood cannot be repaired under pressure. This is not a warning about technology itself. It is a warning about forgetting how systems function. Because once humans stop understanding the structures they rely on, they lose the ability to intervene when those structures fail. And failure is not a question of if, only when. Long before machines existed, humans survived by mastering systems they could fully understand. They did not outsource thinking. They did not hide complexity behind interfaces. They lived inside the systems they depended on. Time was read from the sky. Knowledge was carried in memory, ritual, and shared action. Coordination emerged from trust, repetition, and awareness. Nothing was automated. Nothing was invisible. When something failed, the cause was knowable. When a mistake was made, it could be corrected. When conditions changed, systems adapted because the people inside them understood how they worked. This is what made early human societies resilient. Not strength, not tools, understanding. Machines did not create complex systems. They replaced human participation in them. They accelerated processes humans once performed manually. They removed friction. They increased scale. But they also increased distance. Distance between action and consequence. Distance between decision and understanding. Distance between humans and the systems that sustain them. Today, most people live surrounded by structures they cannot explain. Power grids, financial systems, algorithms, networks. These systems work until they don't, and when they fail, the knowledge needed to repair them exists only in fragments scattered across specialists, institutions, and code no single person fully understands. Early humans faced harsh environments with limited tools, but they understood every part of their world. Modern humans face immense complexity with immense tools, but often understand very little of what surrounds them. This is the paradox of progress. The future is not about rejecting machines, it is about remembering what existed before them. Because resilience does not come from speed alone, it comes from comprehension. The same principles that kept humans alive through ice, hunger, and uncertainty still apply. Shared knowledge, visible systems, collective responsibility. Long before machines, humans built societies that worked because people knew how they worked. And whatever comes next will depend on whether we remember that lesson.